Now, this unremarkable document may look very boring, but it's actually quite interesting and very relevant to West Ham. But we'll get onto that in just a second. Regular and seasoned viewers of this channel may well remember a video I did a few months ago where I suggested that West Ham needed a boardroom reshuffle. I said that because of past failures, failure to implement a cohesive scouting strategy and recruitment policy, the fact that it went scattergun from David Sullivan choosing players to then get a director of football who had actually been appointed by the manager. The director of football then appointed his son, and Pellegrini then appointed his son. We lurched from that to a case where David Moyes was given a job. David Moyes came into the job and there were no scouting dossiers anywhere at all. Fast forward to a point where West Ham are advertising for a scout on a voluntary basis. I said at that time, if you remember, this was a really good opportunity for West Ham to do a boardroom reshuffle. And by that, I don't just mean changing the seat by saying, Goldie, right, today you sit there, Sully, you sit there, Karen, you sit the other side of the table today. No, not that sort of reshuffle. What I wanted to see was somebody, two people in fact, who knew about football to go onto the board and advise what are basically a couple of businessmen on the intricacies of football. Ideally, a professional football player with some affiliation towards West Ham, and ideally somebody with some technical merit, somebody that's been in management in the relatively recent past, put it that way. Somebody who's known in the game, who will have a list of contacts, of agents, of scouts, and overseas contacts and whatnot. Now, that person didn't necessarily have to be West Ham, by the way. That could have been anyone. So I think I said at the time, somebody maybe would have been good, but maybe Tony Gale would be one, and then perhaps even Arsene Wenger, if you could have got somebody like that. Today, he probably wouldn't do it. He's in a job. He's doing well in a job. But someone like Roy Hodgson would do very well being at boardroom level, just to give the voice of reason from a football man. He's worked within the FA. He's been technical director, so on and so forth. Well, I'm pleased to announce that West Ham, I think, saw that video, and they've gone for the boardroom reshuffle of sorts. Sort of not. In all honesty, it hasn't really worked out quite like that. Rather than appointing a football person to the job, they appear to have appointed members of their own families and close friends onto the board. But that's okay, because actually there is a relative of one of our board members who would tick one of the boxes. I present to you Karen Brady's husband, Paul Pesky-Solido. Paul was a professional footballer, played at a really, really good level, was a decent player. I think maybe his input would provide some sort of value, but unfortunately, I'm sorry to tell you, they haven't asked the one person that seems to be involved within the family who is possibly qualified to talk about professional football. He didn't get offered the job. No. Here's what's happened in the boardroom at West Ham. And I'd ask you to keep an open mind, by the way. So yesterday, the document, that's actually been 2 days ago as you watch this video, the document that you've seen there is from Companies House. It's West Ham notifying Companies House of a change in the boardroom. New directors have been appointed. The two new directors that were appointed the day before I recorded this video were a David Sullivan Jr., which is David Sullivan's son, as you've probably guessed, and Emma Benton Hughes. The name doesn't quite give it away. That's David Sullivan's wife in everything but name. And look, a wife for a long, long time. I believe that is David's mum. And by all intents and purposes for this discussion, that's Mrs. Sullivan. So Mrs. Sullivan and young David Jr., have been appointed to the board of directors at West Ham. Now, I wanted to just do a little bit of research before I did this video, just to make sure that this absolutely was the case, and just to think, well, this seems a bit like nepotism. This seems odd, you know, bearing that in mind. And I knew there was another announcement coming today, so I knew there were two new directors about to be announced today. Now, don't get me wrong. I think I've mentioned Trevor Brooking before. Trevor Brooking is it has a lot to do with the club. He has been a board member, but he's a non-executive board member, by the way. But I felt we needed somebody else as well as Trevor and a couple of others. I would have liked to have seen Alan Devonshire in there or something like that. And then, as I say, somebody with contacts within the game. So I knew there were 2 new announcements to be made. And I was thinking that the 2 announcements today would be 2 football names, because that would make sense, right? If you're going to, at a football club, announce that your wife and your son are joining the board of directors to advise on the football club, that maybe you'd try and soften the blow slightly by bringing in a couple of football people. Well, that hasn't happened. The 2 people that have been asked onto the board, so this is 4 in total in the last 2 days. Let me just get this right. Is Daniel Cunningham. The name may not ring a bell particularly. Daniel Cunningham, as I understand it, is David Gold's son-in-law. That's the wife of David Gold's son, the wife of Jacqueline Gold. So David Gold's son-in-law has been appointed today. And somebody else called Charlie Cross. Who's Charlie Cross? I think he's David Gold's lifetime friend. I don't know if he's best friend, but he's a lifetime friend. So yesterday, as I record this video, as I say, we had David Sullivan's wife and son appointed to the board of directors, and today we've had David Gold's son-in-law and possibly, arguably, best friend. These are strange times. I've got to say, I don't know why this has been done. Some people are suggesting that it may be to fatten us up for the sell. Others are suggesting that this would seem to indicate that they're staying put. They do seem to be strange appointments, because obviously, as I understand it, the role of the board of directors is to advise on all things to do with the running of the club. And I don't know, you'll have to do your own internet research to find out what the various qualifications of young David Sullivan, of Emma Benson Hughes, David Sullivan's senior's wife, Daniel Cunningham and Charlie Cross, what they actually do, what they've done in football that would warrant them being on the West Ham board. I don't know. You'd have to do that research yourself. But I've had a little look, and I can't find an awful lot there. But in the tone of this video, I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh here. Maybe it's the way to go. Maybe the thing to do is to not just do the board, to appoint all the personnel in the whole club, including the players, in the shape of Gold, Sullivan and Brady. So what I've done in the spirit of this family-orientated family club, and I think we can all agree now that West Ham really are a family club. Even the boardroom itself, it is bursting with family spirit and love and familiarity. I just think it's an absolutely wonderful thing that we should all certainly celebrate. So I've gone for replacing the whole first team with people named after Gold, Brady and Sullivan. And there's no better place to start with this 11 than, of course, Neil Sullivan. You'll excuse me if I look to my list here. I haven't got it all memorised to hand. Neil Sullivan, you remember Neil Sullivan? Now, he played in goal for Wimbledon. He played in goal for Tottenham Hotspur. Wasn't the best goalkeeper in the world, but he's called Sullivan. Who cares? Let's put him in goal. The back four is formidable. At centre half, I think I'm going to play... his name's Sully. I know him as Sully, but his name's Sullivan, apparently. He's from a cartoon called Monsters, Inc. Look at the size of the guy. Look at, if that is not a rock, I would say that we would play him next to Angelo Ogbonna, Sully, as he is a frightening proposition as centre-back, but unfortunately Ogbonna's got to go. Because Ogbonna is not called Gold, Sullivan or Brady. If he was called Angelo Sullivan, it'd be in, but Oggy's got to go. The only other person I could think of Sullivan was John Sullivan. John Sullivan was a writer of Only Fools and Horses. So I think we've got to try and shoehorn him in there just to... I think he'd be able to communicate well across the back line. He is the guy that wrote the gags like Trigger's Broom and things like that. And I think there's always room for someone like that in there. I've had to go a little bit off the beaten track. There's not many people called Gold, believe it or not. Well, I mean, there's lots of people called Gold. So I've had to diversify it. So, playing at right back, we've got villainous scoundrel Ulrich Goldfinger. You remember him? Oh, sure you expect me to talk. That's not Goldfinger. That's Sean Connery. Oh, sure you expect me to talk. No, Mr. Bond, we expect you to die. Him. I mean, everyone's going to be scared of this guy. Sufal's got to go because he's not called Gold. He hasn't got gold in his name, has he? Even if Sufal, even if Gold, if there was a Czech Republic Gold, it probably wouldn't be pronounced with a G. It probably would be to be sold, wouldn't it? So anyway, he's going in at the back. Ulrich Goldfinger. He's. You've seen it. You've seen the film. He's like a villainous. He's a villainous, nasty megalomaniac who lives in a bunker in a mountain, which is a little bit like Sepp Blatter when you think of it, because FIFA's headquarters is in a mountain, and I thought so anyway. Playing at left back is Goldie. Goldie the rapper. Now, Goldie's got to be careful here, because even though he's going in at left back, with those teeth and those gnashers, that is a lovely smile. I've got to be honest with you, if he's not careful, be careful when you go to sleep. Don't go to sleep in the change room, because I tell you what, the owners will have those teeth out and they'll sell them. I reckon if we put the money together from Hugo Ajeti and Goldie's teeth, we might be able to buy Hugo back. Now, don't tell me that's not good business. In the middle, where else would you have her? The eternally gorgeous Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn. Private Benjamin. You probably, there's probably not a lot of people watching this who would know Private Benjamin. But Goldie Hawn has basically looked the same all her life. She's lovely. She's married to... Because she recently played Mother Christmas, Mrs. Claus. She's obviously not the real Mother Christmas. She married Kurt Russell, who played Father Christmas. Husband and wife starring in a film. She's just a looker. She's going to distract everyone in the midfield. This looks really good. Next to it, you can only have one of this mob, really. Otherwise, it just doesn't sort of work, does it? Is Goldie Looking Chain. They're a rap group. Look at them. If you look very closely, I think you can see Peach in there. Just one of them. Anyone will do. They're a Welsh rap band. Don't know any of their songs. Got to be honest with you. Know a lot more about Goldie Hawn. Also featuring in the midfield is Goldilocks. Now, you may well know, remember Goldilocks? Now, she loses her marker all the time. She has form for this. Goldilocks is so stealthy in the way she moves around. She actually once managed to sneak into her house and eat 3 bowls of porridge, sit in 3 chairs and 2 of the beds, whilst remaining undetected in somebody else's house. And she was so good at it, that even after she'd done this break-in, the 3 people whose house she'd broken into were absolutely fine and apparently lived happily ever after. So I'm having Goldilocks in there. I feel on the wing, we've got to have a proper footballer. So I'm actually going with Robbie Brady. Robbie Brady. Now, you know Robbie Brady. Robbie Brady plays for Burnley. And we're playing Burnley next. And because Robbie Brady has now been linked with West Ham, I'm feeling that Robbie Brady is probably going to score against West Ham. And as you know, I am very, very good at giving tips, particularly with the betting tips. So please get your money on Robbie Brady. He's highly likely to score against West Ham. That leaves us with, I was going to say, I'm only playing one up front. I'm going to play someone in behind. This guy is called Tom Brady. He's going to open things up. He's a quarterback. I think, I was going to say he's a quarterback in the NFL. He definitely is in the NFL. I think he's for the Tampa Bay Pistons, Oilers, Bears, Wolverines. The Tampa Bay Wolverine. No, he's from the New England, the New England Redskins or something like that. He's very good, apparently. Tom Brady is very, very good at throwing a ball. So he can throw a ball. He can throw a ball apparently further than anyone else in the NFL. So when we go and take a throw in, what we can do is Tom Brady can take the throw in, and then he can just throw it sort of that far, because that's how we like to work. Pretend we're going to throw it long and work it very short. Lastly, I've got to be honest with you. I must be honest. I ran out of Brady's and Sullivan's. So up front, I'm afraid it's unpalatable, but I've had to go with Moore's murderer Ian Brady, and to be honest with you, he's a nasty, horrible piece of work, and I'm not really going to make a joke about it. But he's dead now, which is very, very good. And there is my Hammers 11, not like Russ's Hammers 11. Hey, Russ, do that video, mate. My Hammers 11, Sullivan, Brady, and gold. And I don't think it looks too bad. And I just think while they're at it, bearing in mind we've seemed to have got a whole boardroom full of family and friends. What? Let's do the whole team. Let's do the tea. Of course, we don't have the tea lady anymore, do we? The London Stadium appoint the tea lady. It's not really our tea lady. But just as I was, because I can't be cynical about this. I can't. I think it's a lovely thing for them to do, and it makes me feel all fluffy and warm. And I think, looking back, the only reason they've done this, because you think about it, think about the rules now. Just before Christmas, they said friends and family can meet up for Christmas. The government. Then they took it away from us. But apparently, you are allowed to go to work legally if you can't work from home. This is a ruse. They're going to do a Lanzini. This isn't about football. Bless them. Spare a thought for them. The reason they're all doing this is so they can all meet up in the boardroom and have a lovely family Christmas party.